Welcome everyone to the webinar today. Thanks for joining. We have Alistair Ramuno with us today from CloudFronts, and I'll let you take it away here, Alistair. And let me know if you're not getting that screen.
Hey Lori,
Yes?
can you see my screen?
I cannot yet. Oh, there it just popped up. So we'll get you in clear mode here and then we'll get going. Thanks for double checking. There you go. Take it away.
Okay. Hi everyone, greetings of the day. I'm Alistair Rumau. I work as a developer and a techno-functional consultant in CloudFronts Technologies. And today I'm going to show you something interesting. So this is what I have followed, and I would like to show to you, and let's see if it works for you. All right, so today my topic is continuous integration, continuous development for NAV Business Central using Azure DevOps. Okay, so moving on. Yes, so this is me, and few more things here. First thing is, like, all your questions, kindly reserve them till the end of the webinar where I can answer them. If you still have any questions, you can just email me to rumao, RUMAO, @cloudfronts.com. All right, and videos and the PowerPoint deck will be shared with you by Laurie. Okay, so let's get started. So with moving further, we are starting with Azure DevOps. So what is Azure DevOps? It's basically a rebranding of Visual Studio Team Service, which is VSTS, and it has come in a very good package, I would say, with regards to project management, source control, pipelining, repositories, and test plans and artifacts. So as you can see on the left, we have a navigation where we have overview, boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, artifacts. Once you log in into Azure DevOps, so your link will be the organization.visualstudio.com. Okay, and there you can select your projects. So this is one of my project, CI/CD. I have created it for the demonstration purpose. And this is basically the summary window for Azure DevOps. So here you see about the projects where you can give more details, you can put tasks, you can assign wikis, you can even see how many task items are present, and how many pull requests, push requests are present, and how many members are there. Right after, so below, just below the search bar, you can see invite, where you can invite all the members, or you can, and right beside it is private, so which means that the project that you have created is in private mode and it is not visible to everyone. So moving on. So this is the dashboard. So here in this case, you can add widgets and tiles which are present over here. So all you need to do is just click on edit, and there you will get options to select all the widgets which are present. I've just provided a snapshot of what I can see. So here I have work assigned, I have burned down, and I have few other widgets as well, which are at the bottom. But since I've taken this screenshot, so we'll see just this much. Then is wikis. So wikis is basically a good way of documenting the product or the project. And here we can create a main wiki, we can put our code into wikis, we can create subpages, we can clone them, okay, so on and so forth. So moving on to boards. So boards is basically where most of our project related tasks are seen. So where we have our work items. So basically work items are all those tasks which we need to perform. So in this case, user story one. So user story is you gather your requirements through users, and based on those user stories, you create tasks so that you can follow up, you can work on them, and then you can deliver them. So under the user story, we have tasks here. Also, if you want to give it a feature which is present, so here with the ID 12, you can see it as a feature. An epic is basically like a milestone to the project. So you can even create an epic, and then you can indent various features and user stories inside of it. Then after that is the issue. So where we raise a issue and we resolve it, something like a case ticket, and which is managed in Azure DevOps as well. And then we have bugs. So here you have bug one, bug two, whatever content that you want to put up, and those bugs can be either resolved or removed, or they can be active and assigned to someone. All right. So these are work items. Moving on. So we have boards here. Boards is basically a Kanban view of the project. You have multiple, what do you say, like a cards, small cards, which are present in the boards. And on the top, you see all the swim lanes. Here we have new, active, resolved, and closed. So you can customize them and you can play around with the swim lanes. And then you can, what do you say, move your cards from one swim lane to another. So in this case, I have two user stories, which is first is schedule loads, and the second one is trade matching. So under schedule loads, as of now, I don't have any tasks. And under trade matching, I have created two tasks, which are make tables and make pages. And after they have been completed, you get a strike through, which is pretty much a neat way of showing where your project belongs. Okay, moving on, we have backlogs. So in backlogs, we just see a detailed view or a list view of our user stories. Generally, you can also see your tasks here. So under the user story number 2, we have trading, and below, besides that, you have a small arrow. So if you click on it, you'll get the details view of the tasks. And yes, of course, you can see the state and what all is going on. So overall, it again is a list view, and boards is a card view where you can see all the fancy stuff. Moving on, we have sprints. So sprints is basically where we generally see our iterations in the project. So for agile methodology, we have multiple sprints, and whatever tasks that we do inside the sprints are pretty much very fast. So you can select an iteration. So on the top, right about the closed swim lane, you can select the iteration there, and then once you are inside that sprint, you can see all the user stories and their corresponding tasks. And then you can even see which tasks belongs to which swim lane, as to track the project and what is going as per the task. So if you open the task, you will see the details of what all tasks is there. Moving further, we have queries. So queries is simply like filtering out the data which is present into Azure DevOps. Here, what it is basically like filtering data and exporting into some kind of a format where you will apply some analytics. So here we can even email our query. We can even copy URL and pass it on to someone. You can export it as a CSV, and after you run it, you'll get all the details. Right after the query filter, at the bottom, you'll find all the data that you have filtered out. Okay. Moving on to repos, which is basically the heart of Azure DevOps. So why do we use DevOps? DevOps is basically to manage our projects, and our projects gain their core value when our deliverables are linked with the codes, with the tasks that we do to their corresponding outputs. So in this case, we write codes every day to develop features, and that features are tagged against a particular task. Okay, so basically repos is just like GitHub, and we have multiple things here. We have files, commits, pushes, branches, tags, and pull requests. So right now we are seeing the files view, where you will see all the files and the folders view, and basically what is present in the repository. Okay, moving on. So this is commits. So once you have created a repository, you clone it into your local PC where you work, and then after you have done working, what you'll do is you will again commit those changes, and it will get pushed to the repository which is present on Azure DevOps. So here you see a list of commits and pushes that I have done here. Okay, so in this case, we have, so pushes is like you can have multiple commits, and then you can push the whole source code in a single go, or you can commit once and push once and go with an alternating pattern with commit and pushes to get your code delivered. Okay, so in this case you will see, so if I go on a previous slide, you will see that we have two commits here, which is Daedalus trials. Okay, and then I'll push it in a single push, which is Daedalus trial here. Okay, moving on, we have branches. So let's say you have a code ready and you need it to be developed, and you have multiple team members, so you cannot allow anyone to work on the same code that you are working on. So a simple way of dealing with this is by creating branches. So you create branches of codes, okay, and you give each of the user their branch to work on with, and after everything is done, you will just merge all those branches into a single master branch. Okay, so that is basically branches. Tags. So tags is basically like you want to have some kind of a reference with regards to the files, the commits, the pushes, the branches that you're having, and you want to tag that specific file or a commit with something. So here you can create tags and you can assign it to that specific, I would say like a repository item. Okay, and then comes a pull request. So the main part of pull request is, let's say you have a code and you don't want anyone else to modify it, but you want to share it at the same time. Okay, so as your code is in the cloud and you give the access to the user, okay, there are chances that he or she will actually modify the code. So what you do is you give them a pull request, so where automatically a branch will be created for the specific code, and they'll get access to their branch. And until and unless you approve their request, your code cannot be merged with their code. Okay, so that's basically most of the what do you say, understanding of Azure DevOps goes. Moving on, so the main topic today is CI/CD in Business Central using Azure pipelines. So coming to this point, earlier in the days of nav, we had objects. So the way we actually stored these objects is basically we would export each and every time the objects as text or FOBs, and then we would put into some kind of a source control like TFS or GitHub, and I guess that's pretty much it that you could do with. But with Azure DevOps, it is getting better and better. So how is it getting better? I'll show you. So first thing that you need to do is create a project, of course. And after creating a project, you create a file repository. So you will have to host your source code somewhere, right? So that's the reason you create a repository. So now, as you can see, I have imported the Git repository. So what I'm trying to do is there is an extension present in Azure DevOps, which is known as ALOps. So it is basically an DevOps version for Business Central AL code. Okay, so I'll just clone the repositories because it has the right amount of right structure, how the code has been given out to you. Okay, and how you can use it with what do you say, combining with Azure pipelines. So that's the reason I have created a copy here. So I'll import those Git repositories. After I import the Git repository, I'll pretty much get all the files which are present. So these are basically the files which were present in the repository. And what I'll need to do is, now after getting my repository in my and in Azure DevOps, what I'll do is I'll just clone it out in my Visual Studio. So after cloning, I'll automatically see all these files which are present in Azure DevOps. It will be copied on to my local machine. After that, whatever changes that I make, I can do it right here, and you can see those little green color name, or what do you say, kind of an indication stating that some things are changed here. Red ones where it suggests that there is some kind of error or there is some kind of a deletion. Okay, so I'll make some changes here and I'll compile them. So our main aim here is actually to make a continuous integration and continuous development. So what it means is, once I've created my project, okay, and I commit it, I want the files to be compiled into an app, and I want to deploy it into Business Central online version. Okay, so how do I do it? Is with the help of a compiler, which we get with the AL language extension present for Business Central. So all I have done is just copy the compiler from the AL language extension, and I have pasted it in my project. So you can see it as I have highlighted it here. Okay, so this is this compiler you will find in C drive under users, where you'll find .ps code folder, and inside that you'll find extensions, and you'll find AL extensions. There you'll find all these files related to the compiler. Okay, moving on. So after getting the files, what I'll need to do is I'll need to download my symbols. So all my symbols are stored within .al packages folder by default, and I need these symbols for a reference to compile my objects. So I'll create another folder in the same project named al packages, and I'll copy all my symbols from .al packages folder to my al packages folder. And one more thing is that once I commit my code, okay, these al packages with the .app extension do not actually get uploaded into GitHub. Into Azure DevOps. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to go and manually upload each of the file there. Okay, so once that is done, I have something called as YMLs. So YMLs are basically like, it is like a configuration which tells Azure pipelines that, hey, these are the tasks that you are supposed to do. This is the type of PC that you are supposed to use. This is the specific command that you are needed to be executed, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in this case, I will trigger my Azure pipelines on my master branch. Okay, I will use my so in order to execute some kind of a pipeline operation, we need an agent, right? So my agent is going to be Windows, because of course I'm going to build it with PowerShell. And then I have step one, inside the steps I have script 1 and script 2, which is just a demo version which I created, which I got it from actually Azure Pipelines sample once I created the Azure pipeline manually. And I see that there is another task which is calling a PowerShell. So what that PowerShell does is that it will take all the files into consideration which are present in the repository. It will build or it will compile all these files into an app image, into an app, and that app we are going to actually deploy it on the Business Central SaaS version, which is a Business Central Online. Okay. So coming to the main point, how did I do it with the PowerShell is simply if you go into the compiler, which is if you call the compiler alc.exe and you pass a /help parameter, it will show you all the details which it needs in order to compile a specific project. So in this case, my first parameter is project, and here I pass on my current directory of the project. Okay, so it is indicated by a dot. Then my second parameter is an output. So where am I supposed to store the output after the compilation? So I'm storing it in my, again, in my current directory with the name olister.app. And then the third one is basically with reference to how am I supposed to generate this kind of app, with what reference I should use. So this is basically the symbols folder that we have inside our project. So this is the app package. Okay, so after all this is done, I have used a simple list down operation just to check whether my app is getting created or not. Okay, then comes to a point where I need to actually deploy my app into my Business Central. Okay, so a simplest way of doing this is using automation APIs. So where you will call an API, it will give you the list of things that you want, or you can push few things from your local PC or some other PC to that API, and it will automatically do whatever is necessary. So in this case, with the help of automation APIs, what we do is we pass on our app that we have compiled, and it will be installed directly into Business Central. Okay, so now coming to the part of credentials, we generally query an API and it asks you with a credential because of course it needs to authenticate you. So what I've done is in Business Central, we have users, and under that users, we have a web service tab where we need to enable the secret key for it. So I've enabled the secret key. So if you can see on line number 9, I'm actually copying my text secret key and I'm converting into a secure string. After that, I'll take my username from the users, which is Olister, and I'll merge it with my secret key, and I'll convert it into something called as a PowerShell credential, okay, and which is stored into my creds. And the third one is basically to get the file that we want to upload. So in this case, my file name is olister.app. So I'll just search in my current directory and find out where the file is. And I have used write host here basically to just print out the parameters just to check if it works or not. And coming to the final one, we have invoke web request. So while invoking our web request, we need to send something. So that's the reason we are using method patch. Okay, my URL is going to be a Business Central automation URL to upload my extension. Okay, so this URL you will be able to find it in Microsoft documentations under the automation APIs for Business Central. And then I'm passing my credentials. I'm passing a few of the header stuff and the content type. So just because I have a file, I'll need to convert it into some kind of stream, right? So that's the reason I'm using content type application object stream. And in the headers, I am pretty much passing nothing. It is like I'll just pass a star character, okay? And then I'll pass my app file, okay? And this data I'm going to output as a null value. The reason for this is I don't want any kind of operations to be performed with the PowerShell. So what I'll do is I'll just simply use a pipe operation, which is basically to connect two of the processes. So I'll connect the invoke web request process with out null, and then just for a safe side, just to make sure that your app is getting installed on Business Central, I'll just simply ask the code to wait for 10 seconds. So I'll just sleep the program for 10 seconds and then I'll move on. So this is all that I have created in my project, and it comes to the time when I have to commit this. So I'll simply commit it, okay, and I'll publish the changes. So once I publish the changes, automatically in oops, automatically in Azure DevOps, you will see it as a pipeline build, okay, and in this pipeline build, you will find whatever that I have built, and what happens basically here is once you commit something, automatically the Azure pipeline.yml, which we have created for the pipelines, gets triggered. It will trigger Azure pipelines and it will provide with the current commit on the master branch, and this will actually execute something into Azure DevOps. And what it will do is it will create a virtual agent there. It will pass on with all the parameters. It will pass on all the file from the repositories, and then there will be this PowerShell which I have created previously, which will be triggered through an Azure pipeline, which I have declared in the Azure pipeline YMLs. Okay, so after that is run, you get this kind of a message, or I would say it is some kind of a text console window where it will show you. So just as I said, I'll first try and compile. So after compiling, it will show me that the compilation has started, and what all errors, if they are created, what all warnings and errors are present here. So in this case, I have one warning and the compilation finished. So after the compilation finished, I list down all the files which are present in the directory. Of course, that's what I want to check, right? So in this case, I will find my app file, which is hollister.app, on line number, I believe it's 39. And using that, what I'll do is I'm then trying to find my credentials, my parameters, which I want to invoke a web request with. So I have printed them out there, and automatically a web request is triggered and the program shuts down for 10 seconds after that. Okay. And meanwhile, what happens is the app gets published through API automation APIs, and it gets in the process of installation. And after that, we can actually see on the Business Central side. So this is the compilation part, and we can see it in real time, by the way. So which is kind of a cool thing, I would say. And after this is done, we move on to our Business Central side, where I have just simply written a hello message, which comes up with an algo project, right? So I've just just changed the text here to make sure that all my content is matching as per whatever I've built. And that's pretty much it. And I would say this is kind of a great thing here. The reason is because we are deploying something which we have just developed, and it is continuously integrating with Business Central, and we can even continue with our development further. So this is basically the demo for CI/CD using Azure pipelines for Nav and Business Central. All right. So I guess that's it from my end. Thank you very much. And yeah, so I guess
Thank
we are
you.
open for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just peeking here to see. I'm going to look at the attendees and see if anyone's raising their hand. If you have a question, either type it in the GoToWebinar question box or raise your hand. And Ernesto did, or Alistair, sorry, you did. I'm just looking at the, nope, a hand went up and then went back down. You did share your email address as well. So if they think of a question after they hang up the line today, do you just want to repeat that email address, please?
It is Rumao, RUMAO, @cloudfriends.com.
Thank you. And with that, there isn't any questions, so we'll end today's session. Thank you so much, Alistair, for sharing this with us today. Look forward to another webinar with you in 2020. If you think of another topic, let us know. We would love to share it.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Laurie.
Yes, and again, thank you. It takes volunteers like you to educate our community, and we so appreciate each and every one of you. Enjoy the rest of your day, all. And we will be sending you a link directly to a copy of this webinar and PowerPoint.